sum that up. I grew up in a terrible suburb of Boston called Melrose, which is a very white town, all about denial. It's one of those towns where it's like, oh, my son's not on heroin, he's sleeping. So I grew up there, and this time of year I'm always reminded of Halloween because we had this guy who lived across the street from me, and his name was Eddie Murphy, and he was not the Eddie Murphy, he was an old man from Maine, and every Halloween at 10 p.m. on the dot, he would come out dressed as a werewolf with a road flare and run up and down the street and then throw Reese's peanut butter cups at everybody. And I only bring it up because he's the first dead body that I found. Yes, on Thanksgiving 1994, no one had seen or heard from Eddie Murphy in a while. So we had a key to his house, and we're like, we should go check on him. So my dad and I go over to his house, which is like this huge Victorian mansion, like Mrs. Haversham's house in Great Expectations. And we go in there, and he also had 4 dogs, and they were all named Charlie. And I don't know if he knew he had 4 dogs or not, and thought he just had 1, and that's why they were all named Charlie. But the dogs weren't barking, so that was weird. So we go into his house, and it just smells, but he was old, so I thought that was normal. And we go up to his bedroom, and you know that famous photo of Marilyn Monroe dead, like face down in the silk sheets? I don't know, I think you just said something, I don't know. So she's dead in that photo. So if you picture that photo except without Marilyn Monroe, it's a dead old man who's been half-eaten by dogs. That's what I saw. Which is not that, like I have no feelings, so I didn't care. But my father threw up and started crying. So we left and I had to call the police, and I called the cops and I was like, we found our neighbor, he's dead, and his dogs ate him. And my dad was like, why did you mention the dogs? And I was like, so they don't think we did it, because I don't want cannibalism on my head. I'll tell you one more quick story, and then Blizzard 78 will play. Does anyone in this room know Gary Sharon of Extreme personally? Yes. Do you? All right, well, don't tell him this story. When I was 15 years old, Gary Sharon, he's from Malden, I think, he had a big hit with More Than Words, and he was like, I made all this money, I'm moving up in the world, I'm gonna move to Melrose, which is one town over and makes no sense. But that's what he did. And apparently he's a big fan of basketball, so me and my 15-year-old friends used to play basketball on Melrose Common, and he would come running out in like full basketball gear with like Dr. J goggles and everything. Be like, hey guys, let's play some basketball. And then we would proceed to kick his ass unmercifully in basketball, because he was terrible at basketball. He was worse at basketball than he is at music. Like that is how bad he was at basketball. Really bad. He might be a nice guy now, I don't know. But he was very bad at basketball. And that's actually helped. Like, we scooped MTV that he was in Van Halen, because one day when we kicked his ass, he was like, yeah, well, I'm in Van Halen, and then just missed the shot completely. Fast forward to about 10 years later, for some weird reason they asked me to present at the Boston Music Awards, and I got to meet some local celebrities like Ernie Bob Jr., which was fascinating. I met Peter Wolf from the Jay Giles Band, which was weird because I thought he was dead, but I didn't think he was dead till after I met him, which was strange, because he looks like a corpse, but oh well. Anyway, so I got to meet Gary Sharon there again, and he was like, oh, I'm Gary Sharon, and I got to say the best thing I've ever said to anyone in my life, which was, oh, we've met before, I kicked your ass in basketball when I was 15 years old. And then just got to see just the disappointment and hurt in his face, which was one of my favorite things that I ever got to do, which was exciting. I recently bought a house, which is shocking, because I'm doing this. House, yes. You can repeat words that I say, tiny man. And so, anyway, it is funny, because black is slimming and also apparently smaller-ing. Smaller, yes. It's concise. It's compact, like a black hole. Yes. Yes. We're stacking now. We're doing some kind of weird game signs. Excellent. House is fun. It's a good show. And so, anyways, I mentioned before, I used to live in Somerville, and now I live in Stoneham, which is incredibly white, and that's pretty much it. But what I've been doing is reading the police logs in Somerville every week, and then comparing logs in Stoneham every week and seeing the difference. So I'll share these with you now, and then I'll go home and cry myself to sleep. So I've compiled these for the last few weeks, so you'll enjoy these. So this was last Monday in Somerville. Teenager assaults officer during marijuana arrest using a screwdriver, which is a fairly typical Somerville police log entry. In comparison, in Stoneham the same day, woman knocked over by a large white dog. That's the only entry that whole day, which is exciting. Somerville also on Tuesday, man robs 2 Somerville stores in 24 hours using a tire iron and a meat cleaver, which is exciting for Somerville. And then in Stoneham it says, report of kids playing baseball on street and removing animals from the trash. I don't know what that means. The final one, Somerville, wannabe rapper arrested for making death threats against residents of a housing project, told police he wanted to get arrested to gain credibility for his rap career, which is nice because it's like a whole narrative there. And then in Stoneham the same day, backup requested to investigate reports of a man playing with swords, which is slightly different. And then this, I know for a fact that this is a typo, but report of a possible marijuana planet found on a roof. Alright, so the band is ready, which is exciting. So please welcome the Blizzard of 78, everybody.